The race for Champions League spot is heating up in the Premier League and over in Serie A. So in Serie A, there's 4 UCL spots with Inter Milan, AC Milan, and Napoli looking like they'll finish in the top 3, but there's a battle for 4th spot with Como, Roma, Juventus, and Atalanta fighting for it. And over in England, Arsenal and Manchester City will finish top 2. So it's really spots 3 through 5 that are up for grabs, with Manchester United, Aston Villa, Chelsea, and Liverpool all fighting for those positions. Now, all of this means that every single game matters even more from here on out. This weekend, Manchester United and Aston Villa, they're going head-to-head on Sunday morning, and that's right before Liverpool and Tottenham Hotspur face off against each other. And there's several huge matches over in Italy as well, including a big one between number 4 Como and number 5 Roma on Sunday. There is a lot on the line in all of these leagues, and really in all the European leagues. But let's focus on England and Italy specifically. I mean, it's really heating up, and it's been like this all season long, Aaron.
Yeah, it's been up and down, back and forth. We're really into the business end of it, and the money is when you don't qualify for Europe, it really affects you, especially these big clubs. So the fight is really on.
And I think as well, when you look at in particular who's maybe the surprise team here. Honestly, in England, it probably is Manchester United, considering where they were last season,
wild,
how high they have to climb. This is sort of the prize just for participation in the Champions League. This is before you've earned a point, before you've won a game, 21.4 million and 5 million in the Europa League. So that difference is vast.
You could pay Stefano for 1 year off that.
I'll be out of here. I'm getting out of here real quick. You mentioned the big clubs, but for the small clubs, I mean, for the clubs that aren't here as often, we're going to get into it, but Como, like they get the Champions League, they get that prize money. It's massive what they can do with that, and what some of these smaller clubs can really continue to grow and become a club that can continue on in these competitions.
For them, more than any player, more than any amount of money, gives them a real chance to keep Cesc Fabregas as the head coach. I think if they qualify for the Champions League, the idea of him leaving becomes less of a possibility.
Yeah, you guys walked through it. 21.4 million for Champions League and then 5 million for Europa League. So that is not.
It's not an insignificant amount of money.
That is a huge difference. Now, you talked about even in Manchester United, crazy to see them right now top 3 considering last year, but especially considering the way they were just a couple months ago. So would he walk us? Did someone laugh about that?
I just because never would have thought. I mean, where they were with their manager situation a couple months ago, you would never have thought that they'd be here.
You really wouldn't have. So let's walk through who you think is going to finish top 5, because you do still predict that Manchester United is going to finish there.
Yeah, I do. And I think you kind of start at the top. Arsenal as the league winners. I think City dropping points in their most recent match to Forest. It kind of changes things. So I do think Arsenal and City are your top 2. I do have Manchester United as almost being the most comfortable lock of any of the teams remaining in this race. So I have them in
matches
third.
Of anyone. They've played the fewest matches of anyone.
Exactly. I think that is honestly a big part of the reason why. Although we will see probably Chelsea's elimination from the Champions League in this week, and we'll see about Liverpool as well. But I do think for Manchester United, with the fixture list that they have upcoming, with the way that they're playing right now, their attackers are in form. I see them qualifying for the Champions League, and I see them qualifying from 3rd. I'm moving on to 4th. I just look at this overall race, and I see a Liverpool team that I think will just about get over the line. I'm not saying they're perfect. I'm not saying that they're brilliant. I actually think that if they were to get eliminated from the Champions League, I'd give them more of a shout. But again, this is also about fixtures. You look at some of the big games they have to play. Matchday 36 is their big one against Chelsea. They have this one at home. I think if they can take care of that game at home, they'll probably at the very least knock Chelsea out of contention. I see Villa in enough of a downward spiral where I can see Liverpool still qualifying, which honestly, given how they started, is fairly impressive. And then going 5th, I have Aston Villa. I have Chelsea missing out on the Champions League this season. I think for as much as some of the results have been okay, I'm not convinced by the Liam Rossini era. I think there are too many games that are chaotic. There are too many games that they're not in control of, and that every win that they've accrued under Liam Rossini is like, whew, we got over the line. We managed to eke that one out. Even in the FA Cup against Wrexham, yes, they're rotating in the Champions League in this week, and obviously all the games they played against Arsenal. I'm not massively convinced by Chelsea. Obviously now you have the other spanner of the works of the goalkeeping situation, which only becomes further complicated by the issue that Philip Jorgensen had in midweek. So I think Chelsea are going to be the team that misses out here. Villa, who are not playing well right now, I think they'll have just about enough.
And the way that this is different now is it's Villa, Chelsea, and Liverpool in that 3, 4, 5, 6. So you see Chelsea falling out, Liverpool going up.
I'm not convinced with Aston Villa. That's where I disagree. Look, Chelsea as well. They give up a lot of goals. They concede, and that's probably the issue. My problem with Aston Villa is that they can't score goals. They can't find ways to score goals. And what did they do? They got rid of Daniel Malen, who was the only striker who was consistently scoring goals, and he goes to Roma. Obviously, he wanted to get out. I just don't see it with Aston Villa. That's my argument.
So you're not convinced by Villa. You're not convinced by Chelsea. Let's stay with Chelsea here. If they don't make a Champions League spot, where do you think it goes for Liam Rossinho? Do you think that he does stay?
I'm similarly unconvinced by both of these teams. I feel like it's just a toss-up. I don't hate the Villa shout, but I think if it was me, I probably would have thrown Chelsea in there just because I think they're a better squad.
Over Villa?
And they can score goals. And Villa's inability to score goals really kind of worries me. But I don't hate that shout at all.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to Italy. Serie A, who's got this one?
That's me.
Aaron, you're the one taking it.
How you hit that slide?
How you think it's going to finish? 4 spots.
I do believe Inter is going to go ahead and pull it out, even though AC Milan were able to win the derby. That's massive for them, but I think that'll just help them hold on to second spot. Inter are firmly locked into that first spot for me. Napoli are going to be in third for me. They've gotten important players back from injury. They're coming back into form. Everyone looks great on the sidelines even when they are injured, so that's a big aura plus.
And more importantly for Antonio Conte, they only have a game a week.
There you go. There you go. It's a Manchester United. It's the Manchester United deal. They don't have to worry about Europe. They're just going to grind in the league. So I think third is firmly for Napoli. Fourth is where it gets real interesting. And my pick for fourth is Como. The European darlings, the form that they are in right now, the confidence that they are playing with, the belief that they have in both their system, each other. Cesc Fabregas is proving himself to be a wonder kid manager, and last year, even before that, when he was working as an assistant and he was managing them, bringing them up from the lower divisions, I really believe in Cesc Fabregas. I believe in the young players that Como have. The feeling around them is really strong, and I think that belief will help to carry them through the end of the season, and I think they'll nick that fourth spot.
I love it. I think Como is playing the most attractive football in Serie A. They don't have to worry like Roma does about the Europa League, where obviously Roma has aspirations of trying to go out and win the Europa League, right? This is a side that, for me, kind of it really is a beautiful story, a beautiful project that they've gotten a lot of young players, a mix of some older players, obviously Alvaro Morata on that side, and really have found a groove and a way of playing football that not only gives them results, but also makes them attractive to watch. And I think them getting into the Champions League would be one of the best stories that we've seen in European football in quite some time. They have they're going to renovate that stadium as well, so what those funds would do to help that process move along would be massive. And it starts this weekend in that match against Roma. Obviously, their main competition for that number 4 spot. So yeah, I love it.
The two big exceptions, Roma and Juventus. And I want to ask about Juventus, but real quick, because I have a burning question. If Como does make it into a Champions League spot, does Cesc Fabregas stay?
I think he stays. I think 1 year to continue to grow as a manager with this club that he's brought all the way up, to get to play Champions League in their very first season, I don't think he'd want to leave and miss out on that.
Yeah.
I think he stays if they make Champions League.
You agree with that, Witty?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's invested literally in the club. And I think if he didn't leave this past summer when Inter were clearly fully invested in trying to bring him in, I don't see a job that can lure him out.
All right, now talk to me about Juventus. Let's finally get here. What does this mean for Juve if they don't make it into Champions League next year?
Well, first off, I'm going to disagree with Aaron and say that I actually think it will be Juve that finish fourth. And I actually think that there's a chance that they're in fourth by the end of the weekend, because I can see Como and Roma drawing their game on Sunday. It's a completely plausible result. I think Juve will win this weekend. So I think Juve, first off, I have a bit of a soft spot for this team under Spalletti. They've played some fantastic football. They absolutely swept Pisa aside in the second half last week. Kenan Yildiz is really coming on strong. Weston McKennie obviously is thriving for this team. But obviously, if you look at where they are currently in sixth. They do have defensive problems, which I think are going to be difficult for them to solve. I think a game a week helps them too. But For Juve, it would be catastrophic to not make the Champions League. They're already taken several financial hits with Douglas Luiz sending him back. They're going to have to eat a lot of that transfer fee that they paid. To Cup Miners, that situation's not getting any better. They've spent a ton of money on him. They have a striker problem. They tried to solve it with Jonathan David on a free. They spent a lot of money on Lois Openda. They're probably going to lose Dusan Vlahovic come the end of the season, and so they're going to have to spend a lot of money there. They're going to have to reinforce this team probably on every line. You look at even the goalkeeping situation. Di Gregorio has not had a good run of it. So Spalletti's going to want money. And for him to stick around, I think he has to qualify for the Champions League in order for them to go again in the transfer market, because they need to.
If they don't make Champions League, do they stick with Spalletti, though?
I actually think it's more the other way around. Will
Agreed.
Spalletti stick with
Will
you?
he stick?
Because Spalletti, I think, will have the options on the basis of how good he has been as a coach. So I think it probably is a requirement for both sides for them to finish in the top four. And I think just looking at the fixture list, their fixture list is kind. They played all their difficult games in the second half of the year already. They didn't win very many of them. I think for the remainder of this season, they'll get some victories. I think they'll finish fourth.
All right, well, you guys spoke about it, the big Como-Roma game that is happening this weekend. Good. It is number 4 taking on number 5. That is this Sunday. Kickoff is at 1 p.m. Eastern. Coverage starts at 12 p.m., all on Paramount+.
Thanks for watching this video from Morning Footy. For all news and insights regarding leagues around the world like EFL, Serie A, and all UEFA competitions, both men's and women's, don't forget to sign up for Paramount+.